describing Harry is called being high. I mean, it brings new meaning to your highness. Exactly. I think that this is a dangerous conversation.
New nickname. You're high.
Superiority. Visualize this. You are a worldwide legendary person. Your second try at creating a lifestyle brand fizzes out like a flat glass of pricey rose, although you have the title, the platform, and a golden ticket to the most elite club in the world. And Meghan Markle's most recent release was not only a dud, but a slow-motion train crash that even her most devoted supporters find difficult to defend. First, let's start with the product drop for Meghan's American Duchess that went rustic and nobody asked for. With a fresh batch of premium fruit spreads, floral sprinkle jars, and a new rose introduction, Pinterest tried to generate buzz, but the whole thing smelled of marketing desperation. She stated minutes passing everything sold out. Not even near. Reality is not. People who were there live refreshing the page said items were marked sold out the second the store opened. Not gradually over time, not even with a rush of customers, just poof gone, like someone hit a button and decided scarcity equals hype, which might have worked maybe the first time, but not now. Two bogus demands won't produce the same kind of enchantment. Viewers of Meghan's premiere video also noted something unusual. She didn't seem her normal polished self. The energy was low, eyes flashing, frame badly cropped. She just avoided making eye contact, appeared tense, and sounded like someone trying very hard to be happy but barely kept it together. People were then asking, what exactly is going on here? This went beyond mere poor business judgment. This was a peep behind the scene. Meghan's whole approach seems to be based on illusion of exclusivity, buzz, of significance, but when you start looking at the real execution, everything seems false. Create the floral sprinkle jars here. What even are those? Merely random dried flowers thrown in a beautiful container without obvious purpose, without tail, without any reason for existence except aesthetic. That is a mood board, not a product. Then came the fruit spread, sometimes known as the jam, which didn't go as planned and which people in the preserves gently termed. In every interview, Meghan proudly labeled it jam, yet professional jam makers noted something. The texture, the pectin-based technique, the traditionally produced apricots didn't make sense. Donna Collins, almost aristocracy in the jam scene, even called her out, said, "What kind of stuff you slap a spread label on when your music falls short, harsh but fair." Meghan was fumbling her luxury launch now, and Prince Harry was drifting in another direction as several royal insiders and reporters started sounding the alert. Harry seems wrong, his public appearances are flat, his look is empty, and he's sliding into something worse. Harry had been honest about his battles with loss, worry, and his heavy use of alcohol and drugs to cope even before he married Meghan. Lately, there has been conjecture that such behaviors might be returning. Though it was only a single shot, the look on his face told an entire story. Wandering aimlessly, he seemed like a guy not in control, meaning
seems to have had more drugs inside him than you could get in a chemist shop. I find it very hard to believe.
No documented relapse, but not without reason. The murmurs are getting louder. Harry's past is full of attempts to escape himself. If Meghan's brand is failing, or if their California dream is starting to sour, that strain falls firmly on him too. So Harry's supposedly teetering while Meghan's releasing bogus sellouts and flowery sprinkle jars. Not only is a brand failing here, everyone can see it except maybe them. This is a household falling apart. Harry's disintegration is no more some far-off story spoken behind royal walls. It's beginning to be clearly visible and audible publicly. His presentations now seem to be robotic instead of the spark he used. Those near the royal scene are labeling it as a crisis, a breakdown, even a full-fledged meltdown. His formerly distinct vigor is replaced with uncertainty, doubt, and occasionally absolute emptiness. Today, he is not the cheeky prince. He is a guy caught in a fog he cannot negotiate. It's not as though the hints are absent either. This is a man who has talked about turning to drugs and alcohol as coping techniques. He freely confessed he didn't want to feel the way he felt. Thus, he took drugs to dull it all. He said he was someone seeking anything, to escape the weight of his own head. There is not tabloid gossip here. These belong with him. Own words, and right now his attitude is beginning to reflect inner turmoil. Once more, royal analysts have started to put pieces together. There's increasing conjecture he went to those old behaviors, once more, not only because of his appearance or behavior, but also because of the stillness, the lack of unambiguous encouraging signs from their camp. Harry, in good form, lets the cameras roll. He's out there conducting engagements, giving sincere interviews. Today, he just makes brief visits and grins. It seems artificial, hollow, and honestly troubling. And behind all of this lies Meghan, not in the tabloidy villain sense, but rather in a more subdued, disturbing manner. Her business moves feelingly unpredictable. She's pledging 1 week to cease the fictitious sellout plan since it is unfair to consumers. She is then once more performing it. She claims first, nothing new will start this year. Then bang, still another drop devoid of justification. Not only is it perplexing, but it also conveys the idea that there is no actual strategy, just feelings and hope that the title Duchess will sell anything. Likewise strange is the brand's marketing. All of it is pastel filters, quirky typefaces, worn-out cheers, deers, jargon that sounds like it came from a 2012 Pinterest board. Meghan Markle was caught on camera in a rare moment of raw emotion, tears streaming down her face, eyes red and voice trembling, as Prince Harry faced a new wave of shocking drug use allegations that have sent waves of concern through both the royal family and the public. These claims, reportedly stemming from unnamed sources close to Harry's inner circle, suggest he has been struggling with substance use as a coping mechanism for stress, trauma, and the pressure of life outside the monarchy. But while the world was supposed to be watching Meghan's emotional response sold as yet another chapter in their ongoing struggle against palace power, it was hard not to notice how hollow the entire scene felt. There was no real connection to Meghan herself, no clear story or message, just tears, soft lighting, and carefully staged visuals that screamed more lifestyle brand than genuine heartbreak. Even longtime supporters are starting to question what exactly she stands for these days. What is this brand? What is this movement? Because right now, it looks less like empowerment and more like a cosmetic rebrand without a foundation. And the products. The much-hyped American Riviera Orchard line, the honey, the candles, the curated aesthetic, aren't selling nearly as well as promised. Insiders estimate that even with the influencer hype and manufactured urgency, the profit margins were laughable at best. Maybe a few $1,000s total. You can't build an empire off 4 jars of honey featured in a single Instagram post, especially when those same products get roasted by industry insiders as basic, overpriced, and lacking authenticity. When the so-called Queen of Jams publicly called one of their spreads a failure in a jar, the damage wasn't just reputational, it was existential. Meanwhile, Meghan's fan base, once vocal and fiercely defensive, is going quiet. The online support that used to flood social media with glowing praise and coordinated defense efforts has thinned out dramatically. Attempts by the Sussex team to simulate demand only made things worse. Rumors swirled that someone tried to inflate sales numbers by buying 50 jars at once until people noticed the site had a 6-jar limit per customer. That kind of forced energy doesn't fool anyone. It doesn't create buzz, it creates doubt. And while all this chaos unfolds, one person has remained eerily silent: King Charles. Behind closed doors, however, the story changes. Sources say the king is deeply worried, not about the latest brand misstep, not about the headlines, but about his son. Despite everything, despite the interviews, the lawsuits, the memoirs, and the Netflix documentaries, Charles still sees Harry as a man adrift in his own pain, searching for purpose but never quite finding it. And that search, some fear, may have led him down a dangerous path. The tension within the royal household isn't about drama anymore, it's about damage control. Charles, despite his duty to uphold the dignity of the crown, is still a father, and no amount of protocol can erase the worry that his youngest son is unraveling under the weight of self-inflicted exile. According to those close to the king, he's torn. On one hand, he wants to offer support. On the other, he knows Harry must take ownership of his choices. He's no longer a prince being shielded from consequence. He's a grown man living a life he chose to walk away from tradition, stability, and structure. And yet the deeper concern remains: has he found clarity, or just another stage for performance? Because after years of reliving childhood trauma, battling media narratives, and monetizing personal pain, Harry appears to be losing the very battle he claimed to be fighting to reclaim his mental health, his identity, and his freedom. And then there's the money. Rumors are swirling that Charles may still be quietly funding parts of Harry's life abroad, perhaps through private channels, perhaps through discreet legal settlements or emergency financial support. If true, it would contradict the narrative the couple sold to the world, that they left the monarchy because they wanted independence, not because they needed escape. But even if those rumors hold water, many believe the lifeline won't last much longer, because Charles is under pressure from the public, from William, from the broader institution to protect the monarchy's reputation. And that means no more bailouts, no more quiet favors, no more bankrolling a PR disaster masquerading as a humanitarian mission. This isn't about bitterness, it's about boundaries. And the reality is setting in fast. Meghan and Harry aren't just losing relevance, they're losing credibility. Then there's Princess Eugenie, the wild card in an already chaotic royal deck. For months, she's been seen as the last remaining link between the Sussexes and the rest of the monarchy, a quiet bridge that many assumed had quietly collapsed under the weight of family tensions. But a recent sighting at Royal Ascot reignited speculation in ways no one saw coming. There she was, spotted in conversation with Misha Nunu, one of Meghan Markle's closest confidantes and a key figure in her early transition to royal life. That single moment, seemingly innocent, just two women chatting over tea and hats, was enough to send the rumor mill into overdrive. Was this a secret diplomatic mission? A soft reconnection attempt on behalf of the Sussexes? Or simply a case of two people running in overlapping circles? Some were quick to label Eugenie a spy, a double agent secretly feeding information back to Meghan. Others speculated it meant she still held some kind of loyalty or emotional tie to Harry and Meghan despite everything. But for those who actually follow the Windsors closely, reading too much into a social photo might be missing the point. Eugenie has always walked the line between loyalty and neutrality. She's friends with Misha, that much is true. But she's also deeply embedded in the monarchy, married to Jack Brooksbank, living a life that remains very much within royal bounds. She hasn't taken sides publicly. She hasn't lashed out or defended either faction. She's simply tried to maintain relationships in a family that's been torn apart by headlines, lawsuits, and lifestyle choices. And perhaps that's what makes her presence so intriguing. Not every royal is picking a side. Some are just trying to stay sane. But while Eugenie navigates complicated connections with grace, Meghan and Harry's world continues to unravel. Their problems go far beyond failed product launches or empty seats at events. They've lost control of the narrative, and once that slips away, nothing else really matters. The media landscape that once celebrated her as a modern duchess, a disruptor, a voice for mental health and inclusion has turned cold and skeptical. Even outlets that once leaned into her story now seem to be pulling back, not out of spite but because the storyline has shifted. What used to feel inspiring now feels manufactured. What used to look like empowerment now looks like exhaustion. Every public statement from Meghan feels overly rehearsed. Every Instagram post is filtered to perfection but emotionally vacant. The brand isn't evolving, it's stuck in place, repeating itself, struggling to define what Arkwell even stands for anymore. Is she a humanitarian? A wellness guru? A businesswoman? An influencer? A duchess without duties? Right now, she's none of them, and all of them at once. She's become a famous face pushing overpriced jam while her personal life continues to fracture behind closed doors. And let's be honest, the public can feel it. People aren't rooting for her anymore. They're watching, waiting, wondering when the next shoe will drop. Because what Meghan and Harry need isn't another press release. What they need isn't another product launch or rebranding strategy. They need a real reset, not the kind delivered through Netflix documentaries or glossy interviews, but one rooted in honesty, humility, and a clear direction. Because you can only ride nostalgia and titles for so long before the world moves on. And make no mistake, the cracks are showing everywhere. The brand is confused. The messaging is muddled. The family is fractured beyond repair. And the public, once captivated by their departure from royal life, is now watching it all unfold with less sympathy and more scrutiny than ever before. If there's going to be a comeback, it won't come from scarcity marketing or viral videos. It'll require something far more difficult, accountability, something the couple has avoided for years. And if they don't find it soon, they may not just lose relevance, they may lose whatever truth they had left to tell.